Let's now bring in our panel, CBN National Security Correspondent Burke and Joe Truzman, Senior Research Analyst and Editor at Foundation for Defense of Democracies Long War Journal. Welcome to the both of you. Caitlin, let's start with you. So President Trump said today's briefing would be, quote, both interesting and irrefutable. What did the Pentagon have to say?
Well, John, the briefing was heated. Secretary Hegseth really had one message, and that is that what the military did in Iran was historic, period. The Trump administration is furious with the different narratives that the mainstream media has been running with, specifically surrounding that leaked DIA report, which Hegseth pointed out that report, especially at the time that it was leaked, was preliminary. And even in the report, it said it was low confidence. That report is still going to be added to as more intelligence comes in. And Hegseth accused the mainstream media of looking for a scandal and failing to report on a major win. This is what he had to say.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it.
Of course, was Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth sparring with reporters at today's Pentagon briefing. Joe, the Trump administration continues to talk about how effective these strikes really were. However, reporting from the Financial Times today said that preliminary intelligence assessments provided to European governments indicate that Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile remains largely intact following U.S. strikes on main nuclear sites. That, of course, is at odds with what the Trump administration is saying. So based on the reporting you're seeing and watching, what signs or details help us gauge whether this mission hit its mark?
Right. First of all, thank you for having me. I think what we're seeing now is, at least from these reports, is a partial picture of what's happening, of an assessment that's been done on these sites. But we got to understand these strikes only happened just a few days ago. So I imagine right now the United States, Israel, and perhaps other countries are continuing to gather intelligence, trying to build a full understanding of the battle damage, a battle damage assessment, essentially. And it's going to take some time. But I think at the end of the day, more than anything, this is very important. Have these strikes, all right, have they compelled the Iranian regime to abandon their nuclear weapons? All right, this is very important here, regardless of what they find under what happened with these strikes. So we got to see. Again, it's still early, just a few days in. We need more time here to fully assess the damage at these sites.
Interesting there that you note it's not about degradation, but compelling the Iranian regime to abandon its nuclear aspirations. Caitlin, shifting back, though, did the Pentagon share any details that might shed any new light on the U.S. strikes over the weekend?
I think some of the biggest news that came out of today's briefing actually came from the Joint Chiefs Chairman, General Dan Kane. He talked about just how long the U.S. has been preparing for this exact mission. There are two scientists who, for more than 15 years, have been living and breathing the Fordo nuclear facility specifically since construction began. And as they were researching what Iran was doing, they realized that to target a facility that's built into a mountain like this, they didn't have a weapon that could successfully do that. And so they worked with industry and they worked with other experts, and they actually developed what we know as the bunker bomb for this exact mission. And General Kane talks about it here.
Did it over and over again, tried different options, tried more after that. They accomplished hundreds of test shots and dropped many full-scale weapons against extremely realistic targets for a single purpose: kill this target at the time and place of our nation's choosing. And then, on a day in June of 2025, more than 15 years after they started their life's work, the phone rang and the President of the United States ordered the B-2 force that you've supported to go strike and kill this target.
And the pilots who flew this mission report that that is exactly what happened. Every bomb went where it was supposed to go. And that's part of the frustration that we're seeing from this administration. There was so much time and so much preparation put into the success of this mission, and that's not what's being reported. Now, General Kane did close with a direct warning to our adversaries, and he said there are other DTRA scientists working and studying other targets, and they have been doing it for just as long.
A lot of great background information there, Caitlin. Thank you for being at that briefing today. Joe, I want to end with you in the minute or so that we have left. Iran's supreme leader threatened retaliation if there's another U.S. strike. I got to ask, does Iran have the capability or even the appetite to escalate this militarily right now?
Right. So despite the damage caused by Israeli strikes against Iran's military infrastructure, it's still intact. All right. They can still fire ballistic missiles, drones. So if they want to, they can. I don't think they have the appetite to do that right now. They'd rather rebuild. And of course, there's the proxy forces, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and other groups that largely stayed out of this fight. So those haven't been activated. So it's possible. So there's still a lot that can happen here. The possibility is there. Hopefully we won't see it, and peace will remain.
All right, Caitlin Burke and Joe Truzman, thank you so much for being with us tonight and for your insights.